Chapter 8. Cutting Through and Flowing Water. The 60 armed soldiers surrendered within minutes of boarding Station 1. Connie's defensive systems had been devastatingly effective, disorienting infrasonics, strobing lights that induced vertigo, and selective vision fluctuations that left the intruders helpless and nauseous, which was quite evident on their face glass. Jay found them clustered in Cargo Bay 7, stripped of weapons and huddled together like confused children, guarded by more than 50 security officers. "Too easy," Buddy said, scanning the subdued soldiers. "Rinchin is not here." Jay asked through his implant, "Connie, where's Jack?" Connie said, "Administrator Quinn's biosignature indicates she is in Server Complex Delta, Deck .20. However, I am detecting unusual atmospheric readings in that section." "Unusual how?" "Chemical composition suggests an accelerated oxidation agent, specifically targeting copper-based compounds." Russell's voice crackled through the comm from the tic-tac. "Jay, that's bad. Really bad. The server complex houses Connie's primary actuator and sensor cores. If someone's releasing copper corrosive gas, that will severely cripple her." "They're trying to paralyze the station," Jay finished. "Buddy, we need to move. Now." They pushed off from the cargo bay wall, gliding through the station's central corridors toward the elevator. "Connie, how much function are you losing?" 17% and climbing. At the current rate of degradation, I will lose all primary abilities within 40 minutes. The door to Server Complex Delta stood open, emergency lighting casting eerie shadows across rows upon rows of server racks. A thin haze hung in the air. The corrosive gas was eating away at millions of circuits. And there, in the center of the complex, stood a man in a black kung fu outfit, holding Jack at knife point. Tenzin Rinchen was smaller than Jay had expected, maybe 5'6", but he moved with the fluid grace of a jaguar. His eyes held the calm intensity Jay had seen in Buddy, the mark of someone whose mind and body were perfectly disciplined. "Jaya Guru Kwaramba," Rinchen said, his voice carrying a slight Tibetan accent. "And the mysterious Buddy, Dr. Jackson's pet monk." "Let her go," Jay said, keeping his voice steady. "You've lost. Your soldiers are captured." Rinchen smiled, pressing the knife a little more into Jack's throat. "Have I? Look around you. Every second we stand here, this station becomes more crippled. Soon, your artificial intelligence will be too damaged to maintain life support, temperature, and atmospheric processing. Those soldiers were never the real weapon. I am." Jack's eyes met Jay's. Even with a knife at her throat, she looked more angry than afraid. "Jay, don't let him kill Connie." Silence. Rinchen's hand moved with cobra-quick precision, and Jack slumped unconscious, still held up by Rinchen. "Pressure point. She will live if you cooperate." Buddy stepped forward, his hands visible and empty. "You have studied the fighting arts." "Tibetan monk training. 17 years on the mountain before I chose a more practical path." Rinchen's grip on Jack shifted slightly. "You practice Wudan Quan, internal energy, flowing water, peaceful until forced to violence." "Indeed." "I practice Chode, the cutting through, dissolution of ego, fear, attachment." Rinchen's smile turned predatory. "I have cut through my fear of death. Have you?" "Death is merely another step on the path." Jay watched the exchange with growing tension. The two men were circling each other verbally, and he could sense violence building like pressure in a steam engine. "Enough philosophy," Jay said. "What do you want?" "Station 1 surrendered to UN authority. Your Dr. Jackson's games have ended. The UN has no jurisdiction here. The UN has the jurisdiction of force. Your choice is simple. Surrender the station or watch it die around you as the gas destroys every system. Connie's voice echoed through the complex. 23% loss. Systems continue failing. Rinchen released Jack, letting her slowly fall to the floor, still unconscious, in the low-gravity environment. Your artificial intelligence is becoming an artificial invalid. Soon it will be artificial nothing. Buddy moved. What followed was unlike anything Jay had ever seen. Buddy flowed forward like water, his brown robes rippling as he seemed to glide rather than push off from surfaces. Rinchen met him with movements sharp as breaking glass, each strike designed to shatter rather than redirect.
Rinchen's first attack was classic Tibetan style. Tiger tears the mountain. A raking claw strike aimed at Buddy's throat. Buddy melted around it like mist. His response, a gentle-seeming palm strike that carried devastating power. Languid wave breaks stone, one of the first moves he had mastered. Rinchen spun with the impact, using the momentum for Demon Flips Heaven, an inverted kick that should have crushed Buddy's skull. Instead, Buddy was somehow beneath the attack, his legs sweeping in perfect timing. Water finds the valley. A move based on instinct, reflex, and timing that required much practice. The fight moved through the server complex in 3 dimensions, both warriors using walls, ceiling, and equipment racks to redirect their momentum. Rinchen fought with brutal efficiency. Avalanche crushes pine. Lightning splits the peak. Young eagle descends. Each move designed to end the fight immediately. Buddy responded with deceptive softness that concealed lethal precision. Cloud embraces mountain. Gentle rain wears stone. Wind bends the willow. His techniques appeared gentle but struck with perfect timing at precisely the right point to redirect Rinchen's aggression into self-defeating force. "You fight like an old man," Rinchen snarled, launching into a complex combination. Roaring glacier followed by bone-breaking wind. "I fight like water," Buddy replied calmly, his counterattack flowing seamlessly. Spiral current draws deep. Rinchen's combat style became more desperate, more vicious. He grabbed a piece of cable and jerked it free, wielding it like a whip. Steel serpent strikes. The cable wrapped around Buddy's wrist, and Rinchen yanked hard while launching a knee strike. Mountain rams the gate. But Buddy used the cable's tension like a fulcrum, spinning impossibly fast. Whirlpool swallows stone. His elbow found Rinchen's solar plexus just as his other hand struck a pressure point, the brachial plexus nerve on the man's neck. Rinchen staggered, his breathing ragged, but his eyes still held fighting fury. "You have not won yet." He pulled something from his belt, a small device with a red button. "I press this and the gas becomes acidic. Everything dies, even you." Jay started forward, but Buddy held up a restraining hand. Attachment to outcome is the source of suffering, even attachment to victory. Philosophy will not save your station. Perhaps not, but understanding might. Buddy's next movement was so subtle Jay almost missed it. The monk seemed to simply breathe out, his body relaxing completely. But in that moment of perfect stillness, he was suddenly behind Rinchen. The technique was called Whisper of the Void, a movement so purely internal, so completely without external force that it existed in the spaces between realities. Rinchen spun, but Buddy was already moving again. Final water, last stone. A touch so gentle it seemed like a caress, but placed with surgical precision at the base of Rinchen's skull. Rinchen's eyes widened. The switch fell from nerveless fingers, and Jay lunged to catch it before it could hit the floor and possibly trigger. "How?" Rinchen whispered, his body no longer responding to his commands. "You studied the cutting through, but you never learned what remains after everything is cut away." Rinchen collapsed, his eyes still open but unseeing, dead right there. Jay secured the device and moved to check on Jack, who was beginning to stir. "Is it over?" "This part is," Buddy said, moving to examine the gas release mechanism. "But battles are just moments. Wars are much longer. Connie's voice, slightly stronger now that the gas release had stopped, filled the complex. System control stabilizing at 62%. Switch to backup systems. Administrator, I am doing an immediate atmospheric purge and system diagnostics. Please hold your breath for 30 seconds. Do it. Jay helped Jack orient herself in the low gravity. After 30 mental Mississippis, he asked, "How are you feeling? Need anything medical?" "Like I got hit with a bat," she said wryly. "But I'll live." "What's our status?" Russell's voice came through the comm. "All clear externally. Kim's got the transport locked down, and AJ is monitoring for additional threats. The 60 soldiers are secured and requesting to surrender formally, pretty much a moot point now." "What about the UN forces at Future World?" "They're there, but they're not going anywhere fast. Dr. Jackson says he's handling the situation." Jay looked around the damaged server complex and then at Buddy, who was quietly checking on Rinchin's body, with what seemed to be genuine sadness. "Buddy, are you all right?" Death is always a sad, even when necessary. He was a skilled fighter who chose the wrong path. Jack was examining the corroded server racks. "We're going to need massive repairs. This could have crippled us permanently. Connie, assign a fast-action repair team immediately." "But it didn't," Jay said, and realized something important had changed in the way that he thought. Not just about the immediate crisis, but about command itself. "We faced it, we handled it, and we protected what matters." "Speaking of which," Jack said, "I believe you have some administrative duties waiting at Station 2. It's never good to be away too long." Jay nodded, but expected that was her way of saying she needed to be alone now. He found himself thinking beyond just administrative duties. The Battle Dome project Joel had proposed and how that would be good training for situations like this, the cultural integration challenges Chief Connors had mentioned, reflected on his experience with the bikers in the cave, the countless daily decisions that would shape how 12,000 people lived and worked in space. It all seemed less overwhelming now that his understanding was coalescing. Leadership wasn't about being qualified. It was about being willing to act when action was needed, surrounded by people whose skills could get the job done, and knowing who had what skills and trusting them to get it done. "Connie, prepare a shuttle for return to Station 2, and connect me to Chief Connors. Immediately, Administrator." As they made their way back through the station corridors, Jay found himself already thinking about the challenges ahead. The Battle Dome construction, integrating the diverse crew, establishing new protocols for security threats. Problems that a week ago would have terrified him now seemed like interesting puzzles to solve. "Jay," Jack said as they reached the shuttle bay, "you handled this well, better than well. I had good people with me." Leadership isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about knowing how to use the people who trust you to make the right decisions, how to delegate. As the shuttle departed, Jay looked back at Station 1 through the viewports. Massive, impossibly complex, home to thousands of people, soon to be tens of millions, who depended on decisions made by people like Jack, like him. 6 days ago, he'd been afraid of that responsibility. Now he was beginning to understand it wasn't about fear or confidence. It was about commitment to the people, to the mission, to the future they were all building together. "Chief Connors," he said as the communication connected, "I'm returning to Station 2. I want a full staff meeting in 2 hours to discuss Battle Dome construction timeline and security protocol updates. And I'm hungry, so let's make it at Patty Tar's." "Yes, Administrator. The team will be ready." Administrator. Not pilot, not reluctant leader, not accidental hero. Administrator Jayaguru Kwaramba, ready to help build humanity's gateway to the stars, to shape mankind's destiny.
These videos are time-consuming and a bit difficult to make. I would prefer if you told me now that you think they're crap. If not, then please at least hit the thumbs down button. Thank you. If you like the videos, please tell me, and tell me how to improve them. I'm just one guy, and I often get wrapped up in the technical details. I miss a lot of stuff, I'm sure. Fresh eyes see what I miss, so please tell me. At least hit the like button, and if you're so inclined, please hit the share button. Thank you.